everybody. It's Rita Freecott, and I'm here from Picked and Polished in Alexandria, New Hampshire. And today I'm going to be doing a little bit of blending with you. I know that's a really hot finish right now. People are doing all kinds of cool things with it. And there's lots of ways to get a blended finish. So this is just my preferred style today with a look that I'm going for. Hey Donna, say hi if you're hopping on. Again, my name is Rita Freecott and I'm live from Alexandria, New Hampshire. I own Picked and Polished, and I love to teach people how to do their own home decor and paint different kinds of styles on furniture. So if you're on today and you're joining us and you comment with your favorite either like paint finish style or home decor style, if you comment and share today, you'll be entered to win an free 8-ounce jar of Dixie Belle Paint. And sorry about all the noise. I'm in my little shop at the end of our driveway, and we live in the Willy Wax, and so we have big logging trucks and stuff sometimes drive by. So if that happens, just as a little heads up, don't panic. So if you can see me and hear me, let me know so that I know that everything's working before I get started, because I want to make sure that I have a good signal for this today. And again, my name is Rita Freecott. I'm going to be doing blending. I'm going to be doing blending with blues today. So I'm using Dixie Belle's colors. I'm a Dixie Belle retailer, and I have Stormy Seas and In the Navy. And I recently did a piece with those two colors blended, and I had someone want a custom piece for their child's nursery, for their changing table. So I happen to have this dresser that I had purchased. And it was the perfect size, and it's going to look so pretty when it's done. So let me know if you're on and you can see me okay, so that I know that my feed is good. From Canada, that's so exciting. Where from Canada? Hi, Alice. And Dixie Belle just started shipping to Canada, actually, which is another big exciting thing that they're doing. Hi, Betty. How are you? I'm glad you guys can see me okay today. So I just grabbed this board because this is another example of like blending. So some people like to blend things where the colors are seamless. Some people like to blend things in towards the middle and highlight certain sections. So today we're going to be kind of chunking out this dresser. And before I start, I'm going to kind of go over what I did to get to this point before I even start doing my blending. So if any of you want to try this at home, that maybe it would help you or be of some interest to you. So go ahead and comment and share. New Market, which is close to Toronto. Awesome. That's so cool. It's so exciting when I see people from other countries hop on here. So if you comment with your favorite design style or finish style, furniture finishing style, and share this live video, you'll be entered to win a free 8-ounce paint, Dixie Belle Paint, and I'll mail it for free. I'm not sure how mailing the paint would work from Canada, but I'm sure I could figure it out. Hi, Heather. Haven't seen you in a while. I hope you're doing well. So I'm going to get going. I'm going to jump right in. So this is a dresser that I painted in Stormy Seas. When I started this dresser, it was a super dark brown stain. So I was sure to use a product called Boss, which I've listed above if you need it. I've got a link connected so you can go right to my website and get it. It's a stain blocker and an odor blocker. So it's not necessarily a primer you need for everything. But if you have a really dark piece of furniture or something that's stinky, or in my case, I was going over it with a medium saturated color. So I just didn't want any of that dark to bleed through the first coat of paint that I put on. And sometimes you don't even see the bleed through until after you get your clear coat on. That sucks the stain from the original piece through the paint. So in my opinion, it's better to be proactive than to get to that point and have a beautifully blended piece, and then you put your clear coat on, and then it's all the base coat from the original stain starts going through your paint and leaving like dingy spots all over the color. So, oh, good for you, Heather. That's always a good idea. If I didn't have my business on Facebook, I might consider that. I'd be in trouble if I did that now. Thank you, Alice. San Diego, California. Wow, this is crazy. I love it. Thanks, guys. Hi, Nicole. So, alright, so I cleaned really well with Dixie Belle's White Lightning Cleaner, which is also on my website if you need that. It's only $4.50 for a jar. I use that as a degreaser. I rinsed the cleaner off, and then I did one coat of Boss, which is my stain blocker, because I don't want that original super dark stain to bleed through this color at all. Okay, so then, before I start doing any blending, I know I'm going to blend these two colors. Stormy Seas and In the Navy, okay? So In the Navy is a super dark navy, very true navy, and Stormy Seas is like the blue-gray that you see behind me. These always dry a little bit darker than initially when you first put them on. Hey, Anne-Marie, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so I've got those two colors. So I always give my pieces when I blend a base coat. And the reason why I do that, even though I'm going to paint over some of this, because I'm going to start out dark down here, and it's going to be like a medium tone here, and then it's going to work its way to this color up here. I always give it a base coat because as you're blending and misting and moving the paint around, you don't want to have to worry about seeing, if you don't want to have to worry about seeing the initial color underneath, you want to have a base coat to work with because it's going to hide that layer of wood that's underneath the paint. And then Nicole's asking, what do you use as a top coat? I always get streaks when using a poly. Okay, really good question, Nicole. So I use, let me grab it. Hold on, guys, I'm still here. I love either Dixie Belle's Gator Hide, which is a super tough top coat for like kitchen cabinets, tables that you're going to be getting a lot of wear and tear on, bathroom pieces, tabletops that you know you're going to have to scrub and clean. But the one I use the most is Dixie Belle's Satin Clear Coat. They also have a true flat and a true gloss clear coat. So Nicole, I like this satin because it's like an easy, just kind of like a medium sheen, and it's super easy to apply. 2 thin coats, 2 light coats, and you're good to go, and it dries super quick. You're asking about streaking though, so that's a good question. So whenever you go over a dark color, especially a dark color with a polyacrylic, so these are not oil-based, these are water-based, and that's important to know the difference because you can't do what I'm suggesting you do with an oil-based top coat. So this is a water-based satin top coat. So if I were to go over, like when I go to clear coat the base of my dresser, that's going to be a really dark navy, to avoid streaking, there's a couple things you can do. You can tint, you pour your clear coat into a separate container. Make sure you pour enough to use on the piece that you're working on so you don't run out. And then I usually tint it with just a few little drops. And I don't mean like, you know, spoonfuls or dumping a whole bunch, but just a few drops of the color of paint you're using. So later, and I will probably do a video for you too when I do get to the clear coat of this piece, I would put some of this in a bowl. I'll put a few drops of In the Navy, mix it in so it's even, and that tints my clear coat, and I get less streaks that way. It's a really easy trick because my paint is water-based, and my clear coat is water-based, so they mix beautifully. Yeah, Dixie Belle is really easy to work with, isn't it, Mark? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, there's so many different ways you can use the product, so you don't feel like you're trapped in one technique. You can just kind of play around with it and explore. So tinting your clear coat is always a good way to avoid streaks. And then the other thing you can do, again, sorry, I didn't anticipate talking about this today, but it's a really good question, so I want to address it, is you can order the blue sponges through Dixie Belle, or if I run out, sometimes I buy these really super cheap sponges. See how there's like not a lot of, they're pretty smooth to the touch. There's not a lot of like variation in the sponge or texture. So for long, big, flat surfaces, I like to use a sponge with the clear coat or the Gator Hide. Because you can dip it and then wipe it, and it just goes on so evenly. Again, you can still tint it, but anytime you're using a sponge, I always recommend to find some like cheap, you know, like my little girls do ballet, so I always have like extra little tights laying around. So I just take their little pink tights and I cut them up and I wrap it around my sponge. And then the tights will avoid any pills from the sponge getting off onto your piece. Because sometimes that can happen too, depending on what top coat you're using. But my go-tos are the Gator Hide by Dixie Belle, which is also on my website, and the Satin Clear Coat. And a sponge and tinting. If you're using a brush, just use a high-quality brush. I like the synthetics, which Dixie Belle just came out with some fabulous brushes. I'll be uploading those soon onto my site. But a good brush, definitely tinting if you're using a darker color, and then putting nylon over a super soft sponge will help with the bigger surfaces. And the bigger surfaces areas are the ones that you're going to see the most streaking on because you're looking at a bigger space. So I hope that makes sense. You can order, I think I might have the blue sponges on my website. They make the same ones on Dixie Belle, but they're blue and round. They're easier to hold, actually, the ones that they make. So Nicole, you can go ahead on my website, and if you're not there, message me and I can get you some. And I can ship anywhere in the USA for $10. So Karen says she loves the boho style. So I used to be a white, neutral, gray kind of girl, but I'm starting to get into that style too, Karen. My daughter asked for a unicorn. I don't know if you saw that one I did. It was a unicorn blended bohemian style dresser. She's 9, and she saw that style and loved it. So that was the first time I had branched out and tried a bunch of colors together, and it was drippy and beautiful, and then I cleared it with a pearlescent glaze, and it's on my Facebook page somewhere. But yeah, the boho style is a lot of fun to do and just to look at. It's just, there's always so much texture and different colors. So those of you that are just joining in, share and comment with your favorite either design style or paint finish style, and you'll be entered to win a free 8-ounce jar of Dixie Belle Paint. So I talked about cleaning. I talked about rinsing really well, and when I clean a piece, I always take all the drawers out. I clean the whole inside of the piece. I always find like little cobwebs and little little dust nuggets, I don't even know what you call them, inside the dresser that I wouldn't have found if I hadn't taken them out. So especially since I sell my pieces, I don't want people to find that stuff in their clothes and icky. So I always make sure I pull everything out, clean the inside, clean the edges of the drawers, because on this one, on the sides of the drawers, I don't know if I can pull it out now because I pushed them in all the way, but on the sides of the doors, I'm going to be doing some really cute stenciling with little sort of modern wave design. So I was sure to clean the sides of my drawers and the insides of my drawers. Then I went over it with the Dixie Belle Boss to block the original stain from bleeding through onto my paint. And then I went over with, this is just one coat, and this dresser was a super rich dark coffee bean brown. So it was stained, and so I knew it had a good chance of bleeding even through a medium dark color. But this is only one coat, you guys, of the paint. And this jar was not even full, and I've only used like maybe 4 ounces, if that, to coat this whole dresser, front and sides. I didn't do the back. So a little bit goes a long way with that. And then the bottom, then my next step is, once my first coat is dry of my base color, I usually pick a lighter base color. And I think it just depends on what look you want, but my lighter color is my go-to base color of the things that I'm doing. Hey Patty, hi Lynn, hi Lori. Everybody's on today. This is awesome. Isn't it beautiful here in New England today? It's like a gorgeous summer day. You notice I'm not sweating like I usually am when I'm on my lives. Yeah, dry brushing with glaze, that's terrific. So I'll do a glaze video sometime soon too. So this piece is going to start with in the navy. It's going to be my medium color in the middle, and then this color, Stormy Seas, at the top. So before I start doing the actual painting and blending, I always kind of like to plan out, and sometimes I use a piece of chalk, but I don't have one on me today. This one's kind of easy because it's already broken into thirds, and that's kind of how I wanted it to go anyway. So I kind of plan out where I want my darkest color first, think about where I want that to end and where I want my medium shade to be. And then I think about where I want my, my final top shade to be. Well, the work is kind of done for me because it's already into thirds. So it's going to be dark to here, medium to here, And I'm going to stop before this little lip here and then light this color up here and the top. And then I'm going to do some brown antiquing wax to highlight all the curves and the beautiful details of this piece. Probably framing out the drawer fronts as well. So again, this is a custom piece, so this is going to go into a little boy's nursery. It's going to be his changing table. It's going to be so cute. She's got a ocean theme going on in the room. I think she's going for like a really clean ocean, like beautiful design. So maybe even a touch modern. So this will fit in beautifully, especially once I stencil the sides of the dresser drawers. Hey Lori, thanks for watching. All right, so I'm going to get started. I don't want you guys waiting too long for me to get going. Let me know if you have any questions. And I always have a lot of brushes ready to go when I start to do a blending piece because I like to switch out my brushes pretty regularly. Whoops, it's a good thing my floor is rustic because I'm constantly dropping stuff on it. So today also I wanted to show you guys something fun. So I've been wanting to get a mister and I keep forgetting to order one. And they're kind of expensive online. Well, not expensive, but to me, $8. I was like, okay, $8. So I guess that's not too bad. But I'm a thrifty girl, so hey Gretchen, how are you? Gretchen's been painting the town lately. Her and Lori, a lot of you guys have been doing like tons. I've been seeing tons of great work from you, and you send me your pictures of all the cool stuff you're doing. I love to exploit my customers' talents on my Facebook page because they do such a great job with their Dixie Belle Paint. So I found this Febreze mister at one of the local stores, and it was $4, I think, and it's refillable, so the top comes off. Oh God, it came off pretty easy earlier. I'm not going to hurt myself doing this, but it popped off earlier, and it's just got, you know, the normal straw and stuff in it, and so it mists instead of sprays a lot of like big dots of water, which sometimes can mess up your darker color finish. So I just was hoping to get one today. So I grabbed this Febreze. I rinsed this out like a billion times because you don't want, you definitely don't want any residue or oils left from like whatever was in there before in your water. So you've got to be really, make sure if you do this, you rinse out your bottle. And I also I put the water through the straw part a bunch of times to make sure that it wasn't smelly anymore. It's just a fabric and air mist bottle. So I rinsed it out really, really good, and now I have a mister that I can use for my paint. And I know that it was rinsed pretty good because I can barely smell the air freshener that was in it too. And I rinsed it really well with, I think, like Dawn dish soap. So I'm ready to go with my mister. I've got a really nice synthetic brush, and Dixie Belle just came out with a bunch of their own. I can't wait to get mine. I'll have them on the website soon, pickedandpolished.net, and I've also got the link above. And so I've got all my other brushes, my chip brushes and things ready to go so that when I get going and I'm in the groove, I don't have to stop and clean a bunch of brushes. I have everything ready to go. So here we go. I'm going to start within the navy at the bottom. I've got my plates and my spoons. That's probably what I'll do if I don't custom mix something for my middle color. I may try a different technique today and try to kind of feather the dark color into the light color and just see how that goes. Worst case scenario, I don't like the way it looks and I paint over it. It's not a big deal. Alright, I'm going to start with my dark one and then move my way up. So this is my least favorite thing because I have to be like sitting on the floor, but it's okay. She's changing out the hardware for this piece, so we're not going to worry about that right now. So let me know if you guys can see okay, or if you can't, let me know and I'll change it. All right. And it's always important with Dixie Belle to start with a damp brush, and that's why also I love having a mister on hand. And I'm gonna make sure you guys can see this. Alright, so remember, I only have one coat of my base color here. I'm going to leave my drawers in because that is going to help me blend later on, okay? And if I have to go back and do some touch-ups, I will. Alright, and I'm going to be careful not to like gunk up the edges with paint because I want them to be able to be opened once I'm done. I'm going to start with in the navy. Look how pretty that is. Oh my goodness. My brush is damp. I'm ready to go. So if you're somebody who likes the dry brush look, these colors would be really good together in a dry brush finish also. You could just brush the dark over the lighter or vice versa and get a really cool, because look how cool that looks even just with some of the Stormy Seas shown under. So many ways to get a good finish or play with color. So this is kind of the simple part where I'm just going to go ahead and get my dark color on. I'm going to mist my brush because it's starting to get a little dry. I don't want it like dripping wet. I'll probably start on this side and work my way over. You guys will have to share what different projects you guys are working on too. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll check the screen. Like every time I'm done with a section, I'll go back up and check the screen for questions. So this is about where I'm going to stop with this color, okay? And then I'm going to start my blending. It's okay if I get a little bit on there because I'm just going to go over it anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's a little bit messy. Keep my brush damp, that's important. Okay. I almost feel like for time purposes I could just show you how I move from this color to the next color. So I'm just going to get the top of this painted, and then I'll show you how I move from this color and transition into this one. And my goal for this is to have like a very subtle transition point. Just doing an old sewing table style as a side table of vintage duck egg. Ooh, nice. I love that color. All right. So vintage duck egg is another yummy color that like I could use on everything. It's so pretty. Alright. And I like to start, I usually start with my my darkest blended color first on my brush, because then I can kind of, I've already got the color on my brush, right? And so I can kind of just start blending from there and lightening it as I go. So I'm going to keep using the brush I have and kind of keep lightening as I go. Alright, so my darker color is going to stop here. This is where it's going to transition into my like color that's in between the Stormy Seas and the in the navy. So it's really like blending is like just one of those things you kind of have to just kind of practice and play around with, and what one person likes the look of, another might not. So it's just like, my goal is to have like a really subtle line where my old color, this top color meets this bottom color. So it's not a real stark definition between the two. So let's see, I'm going to do this. I'm going to continue painting the edge with the dark. I'm going to leave this for now. Obviously, I'm going to fill that in later, but I really wanted to be able to show you guys kind of what I'm doing, so I didn't want to get too carried away. Alright, so that's a good starting point. So here's where I'm going to stop this color, this medium color, and this is where this is going to stay this color. So it's a lot of pressure to do this on the fly like this. Hope I can pull it off. Alright. So, share whatever your favorite styles are and comment, and you'll be entered to win an 8-ounce Dixie Belle Paint for free. So there's my Stormy Seas color. I have that ready to go on a plate. I've got a lot of in the navy on my brush. I'm gonna mist my brush a little bit. Get some more paint on it, mist it again, maybe mist my area where I'm gonna do some blending. I don't want it super wet because then it's gonna be like soupy. I don't want it drippy. That's not the finish I'm going for. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of the Stormy Seas on my brush. Here with the blue, the dark blue and the navy. I'm just going to keep, whoops, nice breeze coming through here today. Just going to kind of blend it out. More water. I'm going to shift myself around here. Whoopsie. That's not good. Luckily, my floors are really rustic, so I don't really mind. Make it a little painty. It's like a hurricane came in through here. Alright. So, back in the zone, people. So, again, I'm going to give a little spray, add a little bit of the Stormy Seas to my brush, but mostly I have the in the navy on my brush now, okay? See how that's a lot lighter than the other side? I'm not going to panic because this is a constant work of progress here. You're not going to necessarily get the exact thing right away. So you're just going to kind of keep working at it until you feel like it's the color you want. Again, a little bit of in the navy, a little bit of Stormy Seas, which are my two basic colors. And I'm just going to keep working the paint. But as I work it, I need to keep in mind it needs to stay wet. Okay? I have to make sure that paint stays wet as I go. So maybe right here would be a good point to give a transition line. So I'm going to get that a little bit darker. Spray my thing. Whoops, that ended up lighter. And again, that's okay. You're not going to panic. You're just going to kind of go with the flow with this. Because it's going to be something you're going to have to work with. It's not like you do it and it's done. You have to kind of keep going over it. Okay, so it's a pretty good medium dark color, I think. What do you guys think? And you can see the in the navy is going to dry. It's going to get darker, and then the other color is going to get darker as well. Can you guys see that okay? The brass and iron. Oh, awesome, Lynn. That's great. Lynn came to my my 2-day boot camp and did a ton of stuff with patina. And I love the brass, so the bronze and the iron patina you did on the pumpkin. That was adorable. French Country French Farmhouse. Love it. I love the espresso gel stain that I just used. Awesome. Lori, what did you use your espresso gel stain on? So, it's tricky because I have to be on my hands and knees to do this. And I really usually put my pieces up on a table. And then I adjust the height of my table so that I don't have to constantly be on my hands and knees doing it. I'm just going to wet the surface and keep working it until it's kind of where I want it to be. Okay? I'm not going to panic if it's not exactly what I want right off the bat. It's just something you've got to kind of go with. So I'm kind of liking that shade. I'm feeling like that is a good shade to start the transition with. And then I'll probably go a little bit lighter as it gets closer to this color because I want it to, this is going to be like my transition area. So a little bit more water on my brush. Got in the navy, Stormy Seas again. And I'm just going to kind of mix it on my plate just to see kind of what color I get. And I feel like that is too light. Do you see how that looks too light against that color? I want it to be like a steady transition, not like a stark contrast. Excuse me. So, adding more in the navy because that's going to give me obviously a darker shade. Okay. And when the Dixie Belle paint is trying to dry, you can keep it wet with the mister, but once it really tries to dry and it's starting to try to dry, you want to let it be, because what's going to happen is it's going to start pulling up from the surface, and that's going to give you like a clumpy finish. You're not going to want your paint to be moving around when it's like almost trying to dry. If you keep it wet, you can keep moving it around, but once you let it dry, just let it be. If you don't like the way it is, you can always keep going over it. So again, like I'm just going to do a little test spot on the corner and be like, okay, like that's probably pretty good. It's a tiny bit lighter than the color below it. I'm just going to do that. And then I think I'm going to, again, use my mister and go right across the surface. Because it's going to, the water is going to help my paint blend and move more seamlessly. Going to take away, going to fill in any grains. You see right here how I went too far with the lighter color? It's not a big deal. I'm going to go back over it with some of the in the navy. So there's always going to be those things you have to go back and kind of fix as you go along. There we go. And I try to keep my lines as straight as I can. Paint sides here too, so I don't forget. So this is going to go right about to here, and then again I'm going to try to transition into a little bit lighter than that. And I'm going to try to keep my lines a little bit straighter as I go across. So I'm going to need more of the Stormy Seas on my brush because, whoops, too thick right there. Before I do that though, I may actually wet my brush again and kind of go in and just blend this section in the middle a little bit more while it's still kind of wet. We'll just see what happens when it dries. You can't get like too worried about it. Okay. There's that. And then I'm going to put a little bit more Stormy Seas because now we're trying to work it towards, this was kind of like the middle color, and now we're trying to get it to work towards more towards the Stormy Seas color. And I might start painting and I might say, oh my gosh, that's way too light. And that's okay. I can just go back over it with a little bit more of the other color. So, I get my surface wet again. I'm just gonna, I got way too much paint in my brush here. I'm just gonna try to blend it together so that's still wet. It's not going to look like this when I'm done, you guys. It's going to be more seamless when I'm finished. But this is just trying to get an idea of what the colors are going to be like as I go. Okay. Maybe a little bit more in the navy. That's a little bit light right there. Let's do a little bit darker. And sometimes I'll go over and say, oh my gosh, I made a mark that's too light somewhere, and then I get all worried, and then I realize all I have to do is go back over it again. So I think I'm going to get a new brush, because this one's like totally covered with different colors, different mixes. So I don't really know, when I go to put my brush back on the dresser, I don't really know what color is going to come off of it. So I think I'm just going to use a wet brush. It doesn't have anything on it, just some water. Just kind of go over and blend that section a little bit more. So this brush doesn't have any paint on it. It's just got a little bit of water. Make sure I'm getting rid of my drippies. I'm not like putting so much paint on that my dresser is My drawers are like closed forever. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of let that be and see what happens when it dries. Because remember, when colors dry, they're going to dry differently than when they're wet. So let me just get my shoes on here and look off my knees. So right here, obviously, I'm going to fill that in with a navy. Here you can see this is slightly darker than here, this is a little bit lighter, and this is a little bit lighter, and then eventually it transitions to a color that's close to this. And so I'm just going to kind of see what happens when that dries. But remember, when you try to touch up a highlighted piece, that when you go back in with colors, keep in mind that your brushes have like different mixtures on them. So sometimes I'll go back and I think my brush has like the dark color on it and I forget that it didn't. And so when you get to the point where you're almost done, sometimes if I go back through and try to like touch up or mess with something too much and I'm not really careful about what color I'm using on my brush, I kind of make it so that I have to start all over with the blending. So so just be mindful of what colors are on your brushes when you do blend, because if you're trying to like fix little areas, sometimes it's even better just to like take, if your paint's still wet, just take a wet brush with nothing on it and just kind of go over and blend a little bit. These are the $6 Dixie Belle premium chip brushes that I use for a ton of different things. They're great. So yeah, so I'm just going to kind of let this be and see what happens once it dries, and then when it's dry, I'll come back to it and kind of see how I feel about it, and if it really does transition into this color the way that I want it to. And then, once that's dry, I'll probably go over this one more time with another coat of Stormy Seas wax. I'll do my wax details, and then I'll clear coat. But I'm hoping to go live, or at least post a video on how I finish this piece off. So stay tuned for that. I hope this video was helpful for those of you that like to try or have already doing some blending or want to try it. Like I said, this isn't close to being done yet. There's still a lot of work to do, but you kind of get the idea of how you can work one color into another to get the ombre or blended looks that you want. So if you have any questions, feel free to message me on my Facebook page, or I have my email on my website, but I'm more responsive on my Facebook page, I think. So thanks to those of you that tuned in. Don't forget to share and comment, and you'll be entered to win a free Dixie Belle 8-ounce paint of your color of your choice. I can ship it anywhere in the USA, and I'll be posting more on blending and finishing up this piece as I progress with it. So I hope you guys enjoy the day, and thanks again for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.